Hello again, it's Crafty Kristen, and we're ready to make some more wonderful, creative Bible depictions. Now, today's story focuses on King David and how he was anointed king by Samuel, and the importance of our hearts being what matters rather than our outer appearance. The Lord looks upon the heart, whereas man looks at what's on the outside. So that's the focus of our story and our message. And we're going to make a couple of crafts that go along with that. We're also going to look a little bit at the life of King David in these crafts. So the first craft has to do with David himself. The second craft is more focused on the principle behind God looking at our hearts rather than what's on the outside. Well, let's go ahead and get started. The first craft that we're going to do today is a brief snapshot of David's life. Now, you can do this in sort of a diorama. You can do it on paper. I'm going to use mini paper plates because they're sturdy, and we're going to make a little hanging mobile with these mini paper plates. But there are other ways that you could do it, so this is just one idea. Use what's available to you. Now, I'm going to look at how David went from being a shepherd to killing a giant to being a king. Those are our three main scenes that we're going to look at. To start off, we'll do the shepherd because David started off as a shepherd. So we're going to use some cotton balls here, and we're going to give ourselves a little caption explaining what the picture is on each plate. So we'll start off just with something simple. Let's say from a shepherd ... And then, of course, you can make this really fun and creative. I'm going to throw some grass down here. Here's my sheep. I'm going to glue on some cotton balls. And these are representative of sheep, really. If you want to draw on them, give them some little faces. Give them some little legs, sheep heads. These are my sheep. Maybe you want to draw or attach some sort of representation of a little shepherd's staff. So here's number one from a shepherd. Now we're going to set that aside for just a moment while we do our second one, which is going to focus on killing the giant. Slaying Goliath. So you might say something like, since we're continuing a theme here, to giant slayer. And now here we're going to remind ourselves of the story of David and Goliath. So maybe you have a little rock that you can attach here. Maybe you have, I'm going to use a little rubber band. I'm going to put tape on this one because glue just doesn't feel like it's going to be secure enough. I'm going to put a little rubber band to be like a little slingshot. You could put a sword. Obviously, this is up to you. Just reminding ourselves of the story of David and Goliath. Here, let's draw a little sword. And then on our next one, we're going to remember that then David was a king. He became a king. So now we might turn this circle into sort of a crown situation going on here. This is going to be my little crown. And here's my little points of the crown. Obviously, be more creative and cool and fun like that. But to a king. And we're going to put some little jewels on here because it's a crown. Put some glitter if you want. Make it more of a crown shape. Make it sparkly. Do what works for you. Here we go. There's our king crown. And I'm going to do one more to explain what's going on in all of these. So, from a shepherd to a giant slayer to a king. We're going to finish off here. We'll do a heart because David had a heart for God. David had a heart for God and trusted him for everything. Now what I'm going to do to put these all together is I'm going to hole punch at the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to attach these with a string, or you could also use a pipe cleaner or a thread or a popsicle stick or whatever you have. I'm going to use string, well, ribbon really. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your ribbon and that's going to be, you're going to take your ribbon to string these all, tie them all together. Now at the top, if you want to hang this up from somewhere, you can do a little ribbon tie at the top. And then your next ribbons will attach the next pieces. So you're going to need, if you're hanging this up, you're going to need a total of 3 pieces of ribbon, depending how long you want this to be. They can be longer or shorter pieces. And you're simply going to tie them bit by bit. Again, pipe cleaners would work as well, and you don't have to mess with tying, you just loop them around. But this isn't overly complicated. We attach. This is why I recommended putting the tape rather than glue on the rock, because I want to make sure it sticks. And then you have this little reminder of David's life, that God can use anyone. He took a humble sheep watcher and turned him into a king. So God can use anyone. If God can use anyone, then God can use us as well. That's what we're focusing on here as we tell the story of David, remember his story, and how we can apply it to our lives. So once you've got them all together, now warning, these jewels have not quite stuck, so they might fall off when I lift this up. But we're going to have this lovely reminder of what God can do in our lives. Now our next craft is going to focus on the idea that God cares more about our hearts, whereas society, culture will tell you it's all about how you look. God thinks it's all about how you are, who you are, and we are his. So that's what our next craft is going to look at. To give you a little preview while I finish tying these off. There we go. We have our lovely hanging diorama. You can hang that from anywhere. You can also make it something that's more separate pieces stuck together. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but there's our life of David in a nutshell. Now, our next craft, like I mentioned, is going to have to do with the difference between what we place importance on and what God looks at. So you're going to need some paper. It's pretty simple. We're going to make kind of a paper, a collage with a special something inside of it. So we're going to start with a couple of pieces of paper, and we'll start with a nice sturdy construction paper. Within that, well, you'll see what goes within that. But on the outside of it, you're going to make a little collage. It's going to look kind of like a card. So go ahead and fold your construction paper, and you can turn it whichever way you prefer. Now, inside of this construction paper, we're going to have a big heart. So with your other piece of paper, you're going to cut out a heart that will go inside it. Spoiler alert. And the outside of this is going to be the collage element. So on the outside, you're going to take some pictures of people from magazines or things that the world might place importance on. So it might be clothing, it might be beautiful looking models, it might be different things that you would think of as the world putting importance on. Now, to save time, I have already cut out my images, and I have a lot of like sports style magazines about running and outdoor activities and some cooking magazines. So it's hard for me to find pictures of people, but I found pictures of people. So you're going to make your little collage here on the outside and save yourself a little bit of room. So here's my beautiful people doing fun things. And just going to glue them all on here. Make sure that somewhere on this little collage you have a little caption to explain why these random people are here. Guess that one's not going to fit. That's okay. So we're going to say, man looks at the outer appearance. And then on the inside of it, here's where we're going to put our heart. And you can write on this, but God looks at the heart. Inner beauty is more important. Inner beauty means loving the Lord, something like that, something to that effect. Of course, you don't have to do just like that. So now I'm going to glue on my lovely heart. Now this could be maybe a card that you give someone to encourage them, or maybe it's just a hanging decoration that is a good reminder of what's really important. And you can do this in 2 full pages. You can do it something that opens the other way. You can make it a pop-out. It's totally up to you. Now, just for fun, I'm also going to glue on a couple of eyeballs because God is looking at the heart. So there's God looking at the heart. You can throw some stickers. You can throw some more hearts. You can add some more pictures on the inside. Maybe your pictures on the inside are of people doing kind things or going to church or something like that. It's totally, of course, up to you, as all of these things are. But there's just your fun idea. Collage on the outside, beautiful heart on the inside. So those are just a couple of crafts that will remind us of the principles of this story, what we learned about David, and about what it means to have a heart for God. Hopefully that's inspiring for your creativity and helps you. Please, as I mentioned, feel free to adapt this and make it your own and do what works for you with the materials and the audience that you have. But hopefully this will be a blessing to your ministry, a jumping off point that you can use. We do have new videos coming out each week with messages and crafts. So if you haven't already, like and subscribe. Make some crafts, make some disciples. Have a wonderful week. Hope I'll see you next time.